Welcome everyone to the latest episode of Anime Declassified. My name is Kara. Today I'm joined by
Hello, I am Miguel.
Hey, I'm Rizwan.
And I'm Clarissa.
and today we have a special treat. Today we're reviewing the movie Belle. It's a 2021 anime film directed by the acclaimed Mamoru Hosoda and produced by Studio Chizu. It's a movie based on Beauty and the Beast, and especially the Disney version of Beauty and the Beast. And it is known for having a 14-minute standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival. So already, just having that reaction to hear about critics having that sort of reaction to the movie, you have high expectations for it. So I guess let's just get into it.
It was definitely it was a joy to watch in the movie theater. I was excited to finally see it when I first heard about it, when it was labeled like a different spin on Beauty and the Beast, and already that got me hooked. But visually, it was really pretty to watch on a giant screen.
Yeah, I can imagine. I wasn't anywhere near a screening of it, unfortunately. But as soon as I was hearing a lot of buzz based on the screening. So as soon as it was available to watch at home, I jumped on it because Beauty and the Beast, if you know me, is my favorite Disney film, or my favorite film, period. And Mamoru Hosoda is basically one of my favorite anime directors of all time. So to have that mix of those two elements together, obviously I'm gonna want to watch that and go see it, because it's basically the two things in the world that I love, so mixed together. So I really enjoyed that. What were you thinking going into it, Clarissa?
You know, I had also heard a whole lot about it. I'm a fan of the director. And I was really interested just how they intertwined this fairy tale of Beauty and the Beast along with the main character Suzu, how they had these contrasting bits where they're kind of making the same discoveries but in different ways, and they just floated very seamlessly between it and interwove it, and it was really interesting. There's I liked the whole theme of it brings out the virtual system bringing out your inner strengths. I thought there were a lot of really good themes that it was working with. Absolute joy to watch. Visually a feast.
Yeah. Oh, what did you think, Riz, going in? What were your preconceived kind of notions and excitements about going to see the movie for the first time?
The first time I heard of the movie was actually when we were recording an earlier episode of Anime Declassified with Miguel, and I think
Clarissa
was there too. Yeah. And Miguel told me about it, and I put it on my list of things I need to watch as soon as I can get a copy to watch it. And a couple of months went by, and I kind of forgot about it until some friend of mine mentioned, yeah, there's this really cool Beauty and the Beast anime with like a cyberpunk feel to it. And I was just floored that I had forgotten about the movie, but I was so hyped to go watch it. And I was able to finally watch it earlier today in preparation for our podcast. And I gotta say, the hype I had built up for myself was well worth it.
Yeah, I agree. It was hyped up for me quite a bit, personally, because not only was I hearing from friends and colleagues that had seen the movie in theaters, but also, like it or hate it, TikTok really pushed this movie into the forefront of a lot of people's minds, as far as getting traction and hype going for the movie because a lot of people were enjoying the soundtrack, enjoying the songs because it is a musical film. It's very much entrenched in the theme of music. And TikTok is a musical app. So obviously that helped kind of push it to the forefront of like, this is an anime movie that you should go see, like more than any other anime movie because it has all these really cool elements going for it. So yeah, so like social media played a huge role as well for building hype and getting people like me and other people excited. Because who doesn't love a good musical and a good love story and a good story of like finding yourself and healing and recovering from trauma? Like seeing that character development on screen is amazing. And
that
yeah,
was honestly that was my favorite part about it.
Mm-hmm.
I just loved how all the stories were just like interwoven with each other, that they connected really well.
Yeah, and the parallels between a lot of the characters and like what they're going through, um like they were it kind of showed that like we are all going through a human experience. We're all going through some level of trauma, but how you present it and how you react to it is going to be different. And like it was just interesting to see like there's even like minor characters where like a lot of the film is like people trying to find out who is this beast person, like what's going on with them, like why are they like the way that they are.
Why are they just violently attacking people
Yeah,
on the virtual world?
yeah. And so obviously like there's a witch hunt, like who's the beast, and these people like are pulled into question, like are you the beast? And you see that they have some level of trauma that would justify them acting that way, but they aren't acting that way. They're themselves, you know. So like the baseball guy, he had scars, physical and emotional, that he was hiding, but then that pressure brought him forward to say, this is what I went through, this is
why I'm
hurt
hiding
me,
my
but
stuff. This is why you
yeah,
don't see me without this on. It's because, I don't want people to see these scars,
yeah.
but I think going forward, if the same kids who go through the same stuff I did, I want to be
Hmm.
the example that you could rise above it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why like the Beast is so popular with like kids, is because they see that the Beast is like a superhero on TV. Like they see that the Beast character, well, in the Japanese version they call him the dragon. Which is an interesting kind of like take, I guess. But yeah, the kids think he's really cool because he's strong and he kind of wears his trauma on his sleeve, and the kids find that inspiring. They see that and they're like, wow, like this person in the virtual world is going through so much stuff, but they're pushing through it. They're fighting. It may not be productive fighting, but they're fighting. Like they identify with it. I that was also like really interesting, like that dichotomy of like, here's how the adults are reacting to the beast, and here's how the kids are reacting to the beast and his existence in the virtual world. What do you think, Clarissa?
I really, really the visual aspect, like the wearing a trauma on your sleeve, that was really, really that pulled me in. It really struck me because of my experience transitioning and everything, and the like being the real you and learning to show that. And then another big thing that really struck me was that moment when Suzu is talking to her friend, and she says to him, like, she said now, he doesn't trust you. And like how trust is a huge thing. Like if you're going to open up, if you're going to try to heal, you've got to be able to trust the person you're opening up to.
Mm-hmm.
And like how that's a necessary part. And I like that it is sort of, we all know how like, oh, well, a fairy tale can teach us lessons. Well, I like how this is teaching us things about like, okay, well, these are some of the aspects of healing. These are some of the aspects of dealing with trauma. Like,
Yeah.
this is how, because it really is relatable, because it's like, yeah, it has this online aspect, but at the end of the day, you know, in the regular world or whatever, in their Earth space or whatever, they're kids going through high school and like getting ready to graduate and going through life and dealing with everything that, you know, dealing with difficulty communicating either with each other or with their parents or with society or teachers or the system in general. Like,
Yeah.
you know, no wonder everyone wants to be in this fantasy place where you can fly and not just look however you want, but say whatever you want, and nobody's going to put some kind of part of like you're not part of like the big expectation. You know, you're not going to cram school when you're in you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I like that it is a bit, you know, it is kind of escape, but it's also like a place of self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole, again, the aspect of it shows your inner strength.
Yeah. I
that you
think
don't know is there, that's hidden.
Yeah, I think you is definitely like, I know Mamoru Hosoda has like played with like the alternate world plot device plot location before, as far as like Summer Wars and the Digimon movie. But I feel like this is his best take on it yet, because it's so similar to how the internet is right now. And it's believable on how the people in that world interact, how they escape from the real world by going in there. But and also, you know, the things that people say, how people interact with each other, like it's very much futuristic, but also like very grounded in like, this is how the internet is, you know. So I really liked that,
When you
because
were
like
talking
Summer
about
Wars,
TikTok,
yeah.
that was exactly what I thought of, was the little like TikTok thing in the first bit where she's like, oh my gosh, how'd I get all these followers overnight?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's very much like what people are experiencing today, and like social media and like the internet, and like, I mean, people are escaping to virtual worlds and like VR chat, and unfortunately, maybe, I don't know, metaverse is kind of its own thing, but like VR chat, MMOs, like things of video games, like people are already doing that escape. So it's relatable, because like that's something that people are doing, and it's like, it's definitely feels a lot more relatable than his other attempts, which were with Summer Wars, which is still one of my favorite movies, but the way he handles like the virtual space of it is a little bit too fantastical to be relatable, or like realize that like this is something that like people are interacting with. It didn't seem realistic. There was like a bit of doubt, like a suspension of belief. But with Belle, like with the world of you, it feels like this is the internet.
Yeah.
So it helps you like relate with the characters a bit more, because that's just how online space is. Riz, what did you think?
I actually want to bring up a topic of discussion I think is interesting to kind of segue off.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of why this is more relatable than the earlier works is because literally we're just now coming to the tail end, knock on wood, of the COVID-19 pandemic, where we were stuck at home with no real way to interact with the world around us except through the internet and the virtual things like VR chat and the MMOs and all that. So I think the timing of this movie coming out in 2021 lended itself really well to making it something that we could all relate to very easily, and it wasn't dependent on, oh well, if you already engaged in this kind of thing, then this is the movie for you. No, this movie's for anyone now because we've all gone through it.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
What do y'all
I
think?
completely agree.
Yeah, it came out like earlier this past year in theaters, and that's as in the midst of everything like slowly like fully opening back up, with a lot of the restrictions being lifted, whether
Yeah,
some people agree with that or not. But like people are like feeling more kind of secure, and then to go out and watch this, and then seeing how this movie, this World of You had like a bunch of different users in there. It wasn't just relegated to high schoolers, as we see
Mhm.
later on, the church group that she's in, like they had their avatars in that world as well. So it was nice to see like essentially the digital world like on a giant screen like that, and slowly gathering everyone back up. I don't know, it was neat, but seeing that on the big screen, how we basically had to interact with people for the better part of a year and a half. Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, I agree. And moving on, as far as like the plot goes, I felt like the plot was for the most part very cohesive. I do think that there was some like pacing issues here and there, but for the most part, I was relatively engaged for like 100% of the movie. There was like not really any moments where I was like looking at my watch like, is this over yet? Are we done?
It was a slow
So
burn.
yeah.
there
Yeah,
was
I
what,
mean,
Miguel?
It was a slow burner.
Yeah,
I do feel you on that. I was like, this seems. Then it's like, yeah, this is definitely like this is a tight and well used 2 hours. I mean, but I think a lot of that is also so you can like take in the visuals because the visuals are really, really striking.
They are.
yeah, I definitely think that's like one of its stronger points is like
Mm-hmm.
But
for me it would probably be ranked music, visuals, and then plot.
yeah, and that's not
Um
to say the plot is
Mm-hmm.
bad. It's
mhm,
just it does need to use every bit of that like first 30, 45 minutes to kind of establish most of the plot points that it's gonna go forward with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we needed to see some of those things to basically establish how the characters are gonna be. We have the kinda protectful, popular sports guy, we have the popular girl. We had to set up the, kayak club gentleman. We had to also set up kind of the group that she goes sings with, like, they had to establish those characters so that when a lot of the film's latter events happen, like, we've seen how their interactions with Suzu are, so we see why they're willing to help her. So, it needed a lot of that early kinda setup to get the latter portions going.
but see,
exactly.
it wasn't. I wouldn't use the word setup here because it wasn't like a forced. Let's not float a plot forward until we have the background set. Like the plot was there all throughout and it was moving forward, progressing while we were introduced to these different aspects of her life and these different groups that she had interacted with.
Right, but you still just can't drop them out of nowhere.
Oh no, exactly.
You
Yeah.
still
Mm-hmm.
have to introduce them, hence
Yeah.
setting them up.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not saying like, this is in the MCU, "Oh, we gotta have this person dedicate so much." It's like, we still gotta introduce these characters, that way, it's not a plot convenience where they pop out of. We had
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
introduce the relationship that she has, going back to the church group ladies, that way when she's flying out to the place where she finally does see who the person behind the beast is. We know how she gets there, who's taking her there, and we see that they care for her almost like a granddaughter kind of thing because of the relationship they they had with her mother. Like, you still had to kind of get those things going, and you have to
Mhm.
dedicate time to that. That way, when that happens, you're like, oh yeah, no, they're gonna take her. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course they're gonna take her.
I felt that some of the structure felt a little bit like a play or like an opera or something.
Mhm.
You know, at the beginning, you usually have a bit of front load exposition. You know, like, oh, in this town where everyone, you know, blah blah blah. Much like in Beauty and the Beast, you know? The beginning part of Beauty and the Beast, we see Belle going through her town, saying hello to people. We see what she's interested in, books. We see, you know, like how she interacts with the people relationship they have with her and her father and her family. And, you know, we're kind of getting the same thing with Suzu, and also seeing the world in which it's going to take place. And then, you know, we have our musical moments, our very theatric musical moments with very deep emotional lyrics. And I feel like maybe, I'm not sure if that was the intent, but it felt like it. And I found that when I looked at it that way, I when I was looking at it as if it were like a play or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I also thought that the opening, like, obviously they want to draw the viewer in, so they use like this huge visual feast of music and color and like just grand world. They Before we even get introduced to the cast, we get introduced to you, because you is the catalyst for all of the events. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that the opening wasn't just like, well, here's our main character. They set up like where the main characters is going to live, where they're going to discover themselves, like what this all means, like how it works. While, you know, also drawing the viewer in to like something really, really visually pleasing and musically pleasing. And then we get introduced to who Suzu is, what her family life was like leading up to this traumatic incident with her mother, you know, the things that she and her mother shared and her family shared that she starts to ignore in her daily life because it hurts too much to participate in those aspects of being a family because of the trauma that she has. And we also get to build up like these are kind of like how people are online when it comes to like these incidents. I enjoyed that aspect of it, like opening up and showing like these are kind of like some of the nasty comments people made about this woman who gave her life for a child. Like, you know, it kind of seemed like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Like if she didn't save the kid and was still around for her own kid, people would be like, oh, she's selfish because she didn't go after and save this kid. But they were also saying things like, well, because she saved her kid, now that means she abandoned. She saved the kid, that means she abandoned her child. Like, I liked that they kind of set up like this is like how discourse is on the internet going into the movie, and how Suzu kind of views the situation in a way because of that, and that this is how she's kind of processing the trauma of it. Obviously not productively, because it happened when she was 6 and she's 17 when we get introduced to her completely. So I thought the opening was great because it checked all the boxes. It set up the location of where our character is going to be for the majority of the movie. Who she is, who her family is, like where her place in her family was before the traumatic incident, and then the comparison to after the traumatic incident, how she is, and how she's kind of interacting with life and kind of like shutting parts of herself away because it's too hurtful. So I feel like that checked all the boxes of like, this is where we're gonna go from here. Where is she gonna take herself on this journey of self-discovery and healing from the trauma. What did you think, Miguel?
Like I said earlier, it's for it was 2 hour long movie and how they used the time right. Like I thought those early establishing moments worked in the film's favor.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like nothing else much to say about the beginning except they did that they did that part very well. And so once we're introduced to the world and of you and God, I just can't say enough. What a freaking what a visual feast it was to watch that on giant screen.
I am
Yeah.
certainly envious.
Yeah, it like
Yeah, I envy you too.
I straight up was like, dude, I'm buying my ticket for this as soon as I could. Had to wait a little bit after work because I wanted to watch the
See,
subtitle version. What's up?
the year it came out, I was living in a town in central Texas of about 1,250 people. And there wasn't a single showing of that for like, I want to say 100 miles?
Yeah, it was this past January.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was one of those Fathom events where I'm like, dude, I am gonna pay the $15 to go watch this. I did not care, and that like we're talking about plot establishment and whatnot, but where I was really in on it was just that beginning giant whale going to visual street worlds with the song blasting. I was like, I don't care how the rest of this movie is, just on this opening bit right here, like one of the best one of the best animated openings in quite a while.
Worth the price
Oh,
of
yeah.
admission, right?
Yeah, that was
Mhm.
worth the price of admission at that moment.
Oh, go ahead, Miguel.
No,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I watched it in English first. Because the group I was watching with over Discord, there was somebody in our group that was they have issues with subtitles. It's their own personal thing. But like I was excited to watch the dub because of the hype surrounding it and the actress that they got to play Suzu/Belle. And then the second time I watched it was today. I watched it in Japanese because I wanted to get that distinction between the English and the Japanese version. And I think they did a pretty good job with the localization and keeping things pretty much the same in both English and Japanese. They did a really, really good job with that. But the second time I watched it on my 4K TV. In 4K, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Like, it's not the same as a cinema, but it's pretty close. It was so gorgeous.
Mhm.
So I was glad that I was able to see it at least in a better aspect ratio, better clarity on my nice big 4K TV. So that was nice. And yeah, like I guess going into the localization of this, because the story of the localization of this movie is really unique in my opinion. The English voice actress for Belle, Kylie McNeil, this was her first of foray into the voice acting world. And they simply hired her because her singing voice sounds the same as the Japanese singer, like tonally and and the clarity of it, like the tone and the clarity of it sounds exactly like the Japanese version, which is basically unheard of usually in localization. Like they got like a spot on.
I was really blown away.
Yeah.
I was really blown away because after I watched it in Japanese, and then I listened to all of the songs in English after that, and it was, like you said, tonally and like especially the beginning songs, like the energy is matched so perfectly. The intonations, the inflections, the flourishes, like
Yeah.
but it's still, you can still very much hear it's her own performance. She's not emulating anything.
Yeah, it's just
She
that
matches the sound, but
Mhm.
like all of that energy. And so like huge shout out to her. Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing work.
I hope she gets more work in like in anime and like musical things in the future, because
Mhm.
I feel like she has a huge future in that. She's only like 19 years old.
Oh,
So
wow.
she's
Yeah,
really
wow.
young. Yeah,
And-
this is her very first
You know-
big break.
What a break.
And that's one of the things I think the people who were looking out for the localization of this really understood that they had to do. Because if they
Mhm.
couldn't get someone who voiced with the vocals, it could take people out of it. It's, part of the reasons why I didn't really enjoy the live action Beauty and the Beast. Because I'm like, why is everyone out singing Belle?
Yeah, exactly. I
You
completely agree.
like when the focal point of a musical movie, or when music is the focal point of your movie, you need to have someone who can sing in order to kind of get the audience going in there. And yeah, like I listened to these songs in English after I left the theater, because I'm like, dude, the music in here is like popping me. And so I went to go listen to it, and I put the English one on by accident. But I'm like, who did they get to voice her? She's like, it almost sounds the same. And genuinely, it's like great casting call. And it
Yeah.
shows that when they were localizing this, they actually did put a lot of care into it. Because
Yeah. And I mean, they completely also re-recorded all of the songs. So it's not like they took the backing from the Japanese song and then put an English voice over it like they would normally do. They actually brought the sound team in and completely re-recorded everything to like have the mixing be the same, have the timing and everything be the same to like the vocals. So like a huge problem with like localizing Japanese music for like anime is they write really good lyrics, but like the lyrics never quite match the timing of the music. And so the way that they did this is like it sounds so natural and like it's its own song. You don't think that it's like, oh, this is an English version of a Japanese song. It sounds like the way it's supposed to sound. So like big kudos to them. Like that's not usually something that happens in localization of like an anime music or musical movie, or even like when Disney movies are localized in other countries, they I don't think they even really go that far. So
depends on the movie.
okay. I mean, I guess we would have to like look into each Disney movie to see, but
It
I mean like it seems pretty like
if it's not with the cultures that they're going on there, probably not as much. But for Coco and Encanto, like they
well,
had
of course
to.
they did that for the Mexican version, or yeah, the Mexican or Spanish versions of that, or like for Moana, the Polynesian. But like,
Yeah.
I guess my point is like they're not like when you're localizing something, you're not always gonna go that extra mile
Exactly.
for the music of the film. I'm glad they did, because like the music is the plot vehicle that draws you in and like is part of the reason she starts to heal from like the trauma that she went through as a kid is the music. So I'm glad that they went that extra mile for it in the localization, so like the people watching in English, could understand that and appreciate it. And what
I
did
thought
you
it was
think, Riz? Oh, go ahead, Clarissa. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, I thought it was cool how even in the one little bit where they're trying to figure out where the address of the house is, where Kei and Tomo are, how their friend is like, oh, I heard like even in the little like bit of Scooby-Doo detective work, which I thought was fun. I really liked the little mystery and clue hunting aspect, and also how that carried over into the scenes where Belle is going through the castle and everything, like searching, trying to find things out. I just thought that was a very cool little thing how they put that in there. How it like even the smallest little detail of music matters
Mhm.
to the plot.
Yeah, all the sleuthing at the end to find the address, that was really well done. Like, so most of this week I've been watching true crime TV shows and documentaries because it's Halloween season, so why not? And yeah, so watching them like identify, oh, look at that building in the background of the video. Look at the music playing for the the news. Those things, it's almost like a true crime like scenario. Like you have to be that good to realize that these kids, they pulled it out somehow, and that was pretty impressive to me.
Yeah. What else?
I really like one thing I want to bring up. I really like the design of the characters, like just outside, like being around, like the kids. Like I like how they're drawn. They're very like, either they have long faces or short faces, or they're a little tall, or like they've got freckles, or nobody looks like perfect or anything. Just everybody looks very natural and very human, and not like a trope or anything. They just, they look like people.
Yeah.
No, and that's the thing is like these aren't superheroes or important. Like they're not like significant people in society in that they're politicians or like super rich people or something. These are everyday kids and everyday people just living their life. It's not like they're trying to call more attention to the fact that the everyday person's just as important as all the other people are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they do a really good job with that.
Yeah. I think the only issue I had with the whole movie, as far as like character designs and like just characterization in general, was the character Justin and kind of his like group of like, oh, we're the police of the self-appointed police of you.
The
I think,
Gaston of the movie.
yeah, I didn't quite. I felt like, I don't know. I feel like those characters probably could have been left out of the movie, and there probably could have been another plot device for Belle to reveal her identity without involving those characters. It probably would have been a better movie because I don't know, like I just felt like that was like really flat. Like there wasn't really a lot of explanation as to like why this guy has like this green light that like unveils people and why he feels like he's justified to be the self-appointed like police officer of like the what's supposed to be is like I guess its own ecosystem that manages itself kind of thing.
I don't know.
Um
I thought it worked
Can I
with how.
can I be honest?
uh,
When he showed up, I was like, "Oh shoot, it's that guy from Promare."
I don't know. I just took those guys, like some of the people on Twitter or social media, who like always try to get
Yeah, no,
someone
there is the
canceled.
person who's like, I'm the expert. I know what I'm
I'm the
talking
yeah,
about.
oh, I know. Look at what so and so said. Like I just felt like I'm like, oh yeah, it's just another one of those guys who scrolls through people's tweets just to find something that's mildly questionable to try to get someone canceled.
yeah. I
And
mean,
I'm like,
I get the whole unveiling thing is like it's very much like supposed to be like a parallel to like, well, everybody when they have an online presence has a fear of being doxxed, fear of being
Mm-hmm.
swatted, like that sort of thing. Like I understand like why that exists, but maybe I just didn't like the character itself, Justin himself, and that's probably like a testament to like how good they did because I thought he was irritating as hell. So, um,
Movie, I forgot he was even there.
yeah.
Like, being completely honest, I forgot he was even in the movie after a certain point.
Like I will admit though,
yeah.
he was kind of the weaker part. And I'm like, yeah, you're not entertaining like Gaston. I don't see you lifting up a whole barn and eating 12 eggs like Gaston. Get out of here.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, that's probably the weakest part of the film. Like their designs are a little like what's like those toys in the 90s that the guys that were like hard workers and they had like the big feet, like they were firefighters and like the rescue
Rescue
guys.
heroes.
Yes, they look like that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
they could have. I don't know. They could have been a little bit more imaginative on like the designs of those people. But I
It felt
definitely
like they were
feel like
kind of being like, oh, American Superman superhero type thing.
yeah.
Like Homelander or something from The Boys or whatever. Maybe not that exactly, but like that kind of look.
Yeah, I just felt like I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't like it was the parts of the movie that I didn't like the most was like the parts where whenever Justin was on screen and kind of threatening the Beast or Belle and stuff was like, well, I'm gonna
Same.
unveil you. But
Mhm.
I like how Belle kind of Uno reversed that. I was like, well, if, I'm just gonna unveil myself.
Mhm.
Mhm. I love her energy, especially at the end when she's staring down the dad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he keeps trying to intimidate her, and she's just staring at him. And she's like, what are you going to do? Hit me? Huh? Come on, bring it.
Mhm.
Tough guy, come on. And she just doesn't say a word. And the way that she follows him with her eyes as he like sinks to the ground and backs off and whimpers.
Yeah. I think that's like a good show of like how her character grew because she would
Mhm.
very much avoid eye
Mhm.
contact and avoid like directly standing and talking to people. She would always look away. So like the
Mhm.
fact that she had direct eye contact with him like showed that she's ready to stand up for herself and other people and that she's not afraid anymore.
Mhm.
Mhm.
What do you think, Grace?
Yeah, I think so. Overall, I was a real big fan of that. Like, to me, it was just a well done thing. Um, I don't really have anything else. Y'all have already said pretty much everything I was gonna say. Like, I'm trying to think of something I would want to say, but gosh, y'all already covered everything that would have been good to cover.
Yeah, also that scene where Belle like transforms because like the little like mermaids, the little like pixies that are like helping the beast give her
love
that
those
rose and
things.
she
Yeah.
transformed like into the pink petal dress. That was so visually nice. That was so
Yeah.
It
beautiful.
was, yeah.
I wish I could get ready for a night out like that.
Bro,
Dude, if I
Instead,
could see
I have
that,
to
not
spend
enough
2
can be
hours
said
fighting a
about the
hairbrush.
film's animation and visuals. Like, oh my goodness.
You know what it slightly reminded me of? Does anyone remember Gankutsuo, that Count of Monte Cristo like sci-fi anime?
Mhm.
Vaguely.
I felt like there were some echoes of the Count and his style in The Beast, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Intentionally, but like similar sort of like big, tall, monstrous, like flowing cape. Very imposing, but very like mysterious and like fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of did like a for the beast design. I liked that they showed the bruises, like that he was wearing his
Mhm.
bruises out in the open. Um and I did not notice this until I watched the Japanese version today and they were calling him the dragon instead of the beast.
yeah.
Um and I did not notice this when I first watched it because I watched it in English. They're just calling him the Beast, but he does look very dragon-like. Like he
Mhm.
looks like the Disney Beast, but instead of it being like I think they said it was like a combination of a bear and like a buffalo and like a couple of other things. He
Mhm.
looks like what they would design with like a traditional like Japanese style kind of dragon, and I thought that was really cool.
Mhm.
As far as like his design goes. And I thought it was interesting that they call him the dragon in the Japanese version, and he's just the Beast in in the English localization, which that's probably a lot more familiar for Western audiences because of the parallel
probably trying to
between
get
the Beauty and the Beast fairy tale.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're probably trying to get more of the Beauty and the Beast feel to it,
yeah,
into it than in the Japanese one. But uh, I know I still call them the Beast, even though I saw it in subtitled first. I'm like, it's just
yeah.
easier.
It's just easier to say the Beast. I I don't know why he's called he looks like a dragon, and like the actual like Japanese title is The Dragon and the Freckled Princess. So they just tried to go for something, I guess, a little literal for it. But as far as like a Western audience goes, he feels more like the Beast, like the Beauty and the Beast kind of thing. So I kind of think that the Belle title, the localized title, is a little bit better, but that's just my opinion.
I did it, and like it worked for me because like, you know, that's the name of the character, and like the movie is about her and her story, and like what her persona as Belle means to her and kind of represents too. Like I was just fine with Belle as the title. This is the first time I heard the Japanese title.
Yeah.
I heard it for the first time last night when I was looking for where I could watch it online, and I found a place that had the Japanese title only, and I was like, what is this? But then I did more Googling, and I was like, oh, okay. So the Japanese don't call it Belle. Got it.
Yeah, it's the Dragon and the Freckled Princess.
And see, like, I like the reference to the Freckled Princess. It just fits well for her, I feel.
Yeah.
And I kind of like how the dragon's been used here. Mainly because it shows like the Japanese footprint on this European story kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, like the dragon-like design of it.
Yeah.
It's like if they gave the Disney Beast a dragon head, like Shenron's head.
That'd be wild.
I was just looking forward to the ballroom dancing with this.
Yeah, that was so
like,
beautiful.
I
you're
love
calling this
that
Beauty
scene.
and the Beast. There better be a ballroom dancing. And when they got to it, I'm like, yes. And again, eye porn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, every scene was just like so meticulously animated and like planned for you to see what you need to see and for you to feel what you need to feel. Like, I guess the big scenes for me were the opening sequence, the ballroom dance, and the scene where she's revealing herself to you and she's singing and everyone becomes inspired and their hearts begin to glow. I felt so fuzzy inside that scene. It was so nice. Because you could see
I was actively cheering, like, yeah! I was fist pumping the whole time.
Because you could see that she's finally having that self-acceptance of herself, and she realizes that everyone else also accepts her as herself and who she is, and she doesn't have to be afraid of like being herself or like relying on other people. Like, people are going to love her and like enjoy her if she's Belle or if she's just Suzu. I really thought that was powerful.
That again, I mentioned it earlier. Like in my whole like transition journey, I know how it feels to finally get that relief, because you know it can be scary. Like, what are people gonna think? What are people gonna say? But like, when you get that, there are people there who will love you and accept you and be there for you no matter what. Like, it's a really amazing feeling, and it was, you know, that's another part of why I love this, was because again, the whole relatability of it. Like, I was able to relate on it on a level that I wasn't even thinking about until I was watching it. And now that I've processed it more, like, especially just hearing what you've said, it's like, oh man, that really hits home for me. That's really like legit like deeply impactful when I think back on it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's relatable because every person has like a self-identity crisis, or like they go through days where it's like, I don't want to look at myself in the mirror. I don't really feel like I'm worthy, or like that I don't really feel like people love me or like appreciate me. So like to see that journey of self-acceptance is like really, really powerful, because and she didn't really need, obviously, her love interest encourages her, but she didn't really need his help to come to that conclusion. She just needed to see that there were people around her that were always there for her, and loved her for who she was, and was waiting for her to come out of hiding, so to speak. And yeah, that's just, it's a powerful message for anyone, really. I can imagine that for you as a trans person, it was especially powerful.
Well, and another thing was like the whole part about the importance of community. Like I in my notes here, I have them as a combat the aunties rushing her to the station, and like just being there for her and always, hyping her up. Like, the importance of everybody having their own, like. I felt like I liked how they kind of treated the romance bit as like the icing on the cake, and really was like, nah, the real true treasure of it is watching her grow and accept and love herself. And I mean, yeah, she gets a boyfriend in the end. That's pretty cool too. But
a potential boyfriend. I mean, they're not really together, but they like each other.
They leave it. They leave it pretty ambiguous.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Because
they'll send emojis at each other, smileys.
Justice for Kay, though. He literally told her he loved her, and she's just like, "Thank you."
Right. The thing, it's like
thanks, you too.
This kid is also a bit younger than her, so
yeah, he's like 14, maybe.
So
yeah,
I think
14, 15.
I think that was more like with her and Beast, it was more like a sisterly kind of thing, more than it was romantic. It felt more platonic.
No, no.
Yeah.
This isn't a romantic thing. It's more platonic at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I was thinking of the one dude, Shinobu. I was thinking of Shinobu, not the Beast. I'm
Basketball star Shinobu?
Yeah, basketball star Shinobu. Like when he's like, "Oh man, now we can actually hang out, and I don't have to treat you like I'm not your guardian anymore."
She blushes like, and
Yeah,
it's so cute.
Yeah,
but yeah, I do think that like the love confession from Kay is really important, though, because it shows that he's willing to open himself up to people again and to trust other people, because a lot of the problems was him lashing out because like the person that is supposed to love you unconditionally is like treating you like shit. So of course you're not really gonna trust people outside that bubble if the people inside your bubble aren't supporting you, aren't taking care of you. So just to say, for him to admit that he loves her was like a huge character development. It's like, I'm willing to open myself up to other people and experience love.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I got pretty shook up at like any scene in which his dad was in it. Like, ugh.
Oh yeah, F that guy. They did a really good job of making me pissed at him.
Yeah, I didn't like him at all.
Which one?
But that was the point. You're not supposed to like him.
I love him, literally. Yeah. I love the fact that he just like pissed himself, practically. Ran away.
Yeah. Well, I think because he finally faced like, wow, I like hurt another kid, like that's not my kid, like holy shit. Like I think he finally faced like the reality of the situation, and it's like it's also cool because there's like a parallel between Suzu's dad and his dad, where Suzu's dad still very much cares for Suzu, is always asking after her, like, do you want to have dinner? do you want to talk? Do you want to hang out? And like, Suzu's dad lost his wife. Kei's dad lost his wife. But here's how they're both handling the situation. And how the kids are kind of processing that family trauma. Like, there's so many parallels between, like, different characters and how they're, like, resolving that growth.
That was the best part of it.
Yeah.
I would say the strongest part easily is just how well done all of the character growth and character drama is done. It's all handled very well. Like, yeah, the abuse scenes are pretty intense. You know, for some people, it'll probably be too much, I would imagine. But they do not go too far.
I think they did it tastefully.
They don't. They did. They basically were like, this is how scary it can be, but we're not gonna. That's all you need to know is how scary it can be.
Yeah, and like visually, like I liked that the camera is angled like in a way where like whenever the dad was on screen, like for the most part, like when he was about to throw a punch, like throw hands at his kids, it was angled in such a way where it's like from the perspective of a small child, so you know, like you're looking up at like the person, and it's like that's all you really need to know. And like that's all they really need to show is the dad being, as far as the dad being abusive, is like, this is how freaking scary it is for a little kid experiencing that, and that's like really powerful. Like they did a good job showing that, like, and it was very tasteful. What was you guys' favorite song in the whole movie?
Honestly, the first time Belle sings for the entire U. Like
The opening sequence, or like the first time in like the story?
Once she becomes Belle in story, and like she's riding the whale, that was beautiful.
Yeah, I'd have to say it's a tie between the final song in the movie, where she's part of it is herself, and then the opening like sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's I'm kind of the same.
Sequence. It is just too catchy not to be.
I mean, there's a reason that they just threw up the whole opening sequence as like a trailer to the movie on YouTube. They're like, here, this, you want to watch this movie? Here's the opening.
If this doesn't do it, I don't know what will.
Exactly. What else? I think we hit like pretty much every point.
Yeah, I'm out of things to bring up, I think.
I'm just looking forward to the next Mamoru Hosoda movie, because he's so good at making powerful human stories that are also entrenched in fantasy. So I'm like really looking forward to seeing what he does next.
Yeah. It's it'll be great to see what he does next. Nice to have another anime studio outside of Ghibli to make these movies, to get people to watch them, to reach a wider audience.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really grateful for Hosoda and Shinkai. I personally like Hosoda a little bit more as far as storytelling, but like Shinkai is also like really great. But yeah, I just can't wait to see what he does next, because it's gonna be great. And I also feel like this movie was snubbed for the Oscars. Like it didn't even get a.
It came out at a time where it wasn't going to make that push it would have needed.
Yeah, unfortunately. Because I feel like it was a stronger film than the one film that Hosoda has had nominated, which I would have to like look that up again because I forget, but I feel like this film is a lot stronger than that film, for sure. But But anyway, in closing, I would give Belle a 9 out of 10.
I'm gonna go with a 9.5.
It's solid.
Damn, Riz.
I'll go with 9 as well.
Same.
Hey, I like that movie a lot.
Is it your
It's
favorite
really good.
Hosoda movie?
Yes, it actually is now.
Yeah, I really like it, but I still think Wolf Children is my favorite.
I think Belle's still better. But that's just
Now,
me.
Just don't ask me what my favorite anime movie is. Well,
Hey, Clarissa, what's your favorite anime movie of all time?
Akira.
Fair enough.
Some things never change.
Nope.
Hey,
I didn't
when
know
you
what
see
I-
Akira when you're 7, it makes a big
It does.
yes.
yeah.
No, I honestly would love to watch this again on the big screen. I would go see this again. I would absolutely watch this. I would watch this with someone to show it to them.
Yeah, I think it's that powerful. I would watch it again. I've seen it twice.
Yeah.
Once
I'd watch
once
it
in
again.
English and once in Japanese, and it's
Well, and that's what I'm
worth it both
probably gonna
times.
do. I want to rewatch it again in English. That's what I like to do. I'll watch something in Japanese first, and then I'll watch it in English, and I'll just be like, oh, I want to see how how do they show this emotion? How do they bring this part of themselves out? I'm never like, oh, this one's better or that one's better. It's just like, oh, I just want to see the differences in how they do it.
Yeah,
The
Yeah,
film
that's
we were
fair.
thinking about was Mirai.
Oh, yeah. I personally thought Mirai was a very weak film. I
You
didn't
might
like
be
it
in the
very much.
minority.
I don't think I even saw that one. I didn't
I
even see
didn't
it.
I didn't like it very much. I don't know. I got what he was trying to do with that, but I just think there's just some aspects of it that I just didn't really like. The animation, of course, was gorgeous. Like, I really like that, and I liked I liked some aspects of it, but like for the most part, I thought a lot of the characters were annoying in the right. And the plot was a little thin for me. But that's just my opinion. Like, that's just how I personally felt about it. And like, that's like, if we want to talk about Mirai in another review, if we haven't reviewed Mirai yet, then I would be happy to watch it again and give my opinion. So,
Oh, for
hey,
sure.
what if we just reviewed every Hosoda movie?
We could. I'd be down for it. That sounds like
Yeah.
As long
Yeah.
as
Yeah, sure.
as long as we just do the subs of the Digimon movies and don't watch the abomination that is the English one.
I
Sure.
mean,
Miguel, there is no English one.
You're right. What am I thinking of?
Miguel, that's like telling me that Death Note had an American adaptation.
No,
It
that doesn't
does.
exist.
It does. It's actually premiering tomorrow on Fox's Animation Domination in the form of The Simpsons.
Oh. Good point, Miguel.
Boy, it sounds like something we should watch and review.
For sure. But yeah.
All right. In conclusion, we all loved Belle. Definitely watch it on HBO Max and Amazon Prime, I believe.
Yep.
Amazon Prime, you would have to pay a rental fee. HBO
Mhm.
Max, you need a subscription.
Just know that I believe Clarissa said that Amazon only has the dub.
Well, no, there are two separate rentals. There is a rental for the dubbed English version, and there is a separate rental for the subbed Japanese version.
Yes.
If
So
you're watching it on and on HBO Max, it is only in the English dub.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're gonna watch any anime movie dubbed, I would say this is the one to watch because the localization was like spot on.
Oh yeah.
So
Pretty good.
yeah, either or. I mean, like, whatever floats your boat. But that's it. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to us ramble about how much we love this movie. Definitely go see it legally if you can. And in closing, we're Anime Declassified.
Check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube today.
Thank you. Have a great day.